Hello, everybody. This is SIG AWS office hours, or the biweekly meeting, or provider AWS. I am your host, moderator, facilitator, Justin Santa Barbara. I work at Google. A reminder, this meeting is being recorded and will be put on the internet. And to be mindful, please, of our Kubernetes code of conduct, which essentially boils down to being a good person. I have pasted a link to the agenda in the chat. I will repaste it right there. We do have 2 items on the agenda, but nothing else on the agenda. Please do feel free to add your name in the attendees section if you would like to. It can be helpful for people watching the video at a later date. And if there are topics that you would like to discuss, please add them at the bottom of the agenda, I guess. I'm sure we'll get through our agenda, but then we can be sure we don't forget. Otherwise, I don't know if there's anyone new that would like to say hello, purely optionally. All right, then we will proceed with our agenda. Nick, you have the 2 and only items on our agenda, first 2 and only items on our agenda. Do you want to kick us off for the testing account one first?
Yeah, so I figured I'd just bring this up in the meeting since we've been chatting about it a little bit. So the background is there exists a CNCF testing account that is used for, I think it might only be periodic jobs right now for, is that true?
That's true, yes.
Okay, so it does run periodic jobs and, yep.
That's true. I just realized technically the COPS PR jobs do run on, but yes, for Kubernetes periodics, yes.
Okay, so the COPS jobs as well. So I personally want to add both periodics and pre-submit jobs to the external cloud provider repo. So that should be happening fairly soon. And then separately, Andrew Sykim, one of his coworkers, is working on some, I think it's something related to IPv6. And he also wants to add some sort of jobs to a testing account, I guess. Now, I have 2 options. I could add them to the CNCF account, or I could add them to, apparently we have this other internal account, which the pros of the internal account are I don't have to worry about the funding. The cons are that only Amazon employees have access to it. So ideally, I think the CNCF account would be better. If there's other concerns, we can always do the internal one. But yeah, I just wanted to throw that out there, and we can kind of finish our discussion here. Justin, if you have thoughts?
Yeah, I just want to the CNCF account is actually funded by Amazon as well, so thank you to y'all for that. So it's not like CNCF is shelling out, as it were. And from that point of view, as long as Amazon is willing to continue funding the CNCF account, I don't think they would mind having more money go, more spend there. I think the spend is actually pretty low right now anyway, because we've turned off most of the pre-submit. So it's, I didn't make it clear, but COPS does run on every PR. They run on Amazon. So there is precedent for non-KK repos to run on every PR, and that seems to work fine. We have some tips in COPS, which we can probably share with you about not running tip of KK if you want a little bit more stability. Actually, Peter did a lot of that work, and so can probably fill you in on that. But also Kappa, Cluster API Provider AWS, we just created a whole new set of sub-accounts under the CNCF account. I'm probably mangling my words, but that are dedicated for testing. As long as we get the okay from the CNCF, I think we can create more of that nature. I don't know, actually, we might just be able to continue to share that same set of, getting a lot of noise from your mic, I presume. We won't be able to share that same set of 10 accounts. I think it's 10 accounts, share that pool with other jobs running on Prow. I actually don't know if we can not share them. So I think you can certainly use those. You should probably just give a heads up to the Kappa folk in case they are concerned. But it seems pretty reasonable to reuse those accounts. And I actually don't know if we can not reuse those accounts. We should probably just check with CNCF. And then finally, there is a move to put more of this under open and transparent CNCF management in the Kubernetes working group Kate's Infras, which has a Git repo called github.com kubernetes/kates.io, which is perhaps a little confusing, but that's what it is. I created the 10 accounts under using a bash script, but I spoke to them on Wednesday around at their bi-weekly meeting about putting those scripts, what we should do about those scripts, whether we should like keep it off the books or whether we should like put it in the management in their repo. And we agreed that we should actually just put it in their repo so that it will be transparent and like there's no reason to, as long as we don't commit the keys, there's no reason to hide it. So we're not going to commit the keys to Git, but we'll commit the scripts that produce the accounts that produce the keys.
Got it. So what is the difference between the 10 accounts? Is it like, what was the reason for 10 versus any other number?
10 is big, but not too big. And the reason was that COPS and KK originally was able to share an AWS account. And I think still does. So there is like one like shared AWS account where a bunch of tests would run and has very high quota. It relied on the installation tools that ran in there being cooperative with other tests that ran concurrently. The Kappa one didn't want interference between tests, didn't want to like have that happening. So essentially in the Kappa model, or in this model, which is the same model that's used on GCE testing, you check out a project for the duration of your test and you give it back when you're done. And it's called a janitor runs and basically like nukes anything that's left over when you're done, in theory. So it's a nice design, I think. And yeah, and so there are 10 accounts so that we can run up to 10 jobs in parallel across the entirety of the fleet, as it were.
Got it. So how does that, so that sounds like we might want more if we're going to be, I mean, if the whole concept is isolation, then do we want to share them?
Do you want to share? Yeah, we could certainly. Yeah, I think putting them in a pool is using a pool is a good idea. One of the things that sharing the account drove was like, you know, you want the cloud provider to work if you're running two clusters in the same AWS account. So it sort of forced us to implement that correctly. Hopefully, knock on wood. But you know, you don't necessarily have to be testing that. And certainly, we do see flakes where, you know, like you run out of, particularly when you run out of like IPs or whatever it is in a particular region, because you just happen to get like 5 tests that all ran in that same region at the same time, or whatever it was. So it's nice to have the separate accounts because then you're isolated and that's good. And I don't think we're actually running that many concurrently at the same time. So I don't think we'd even need to create more, but we can certainly create more now that we have a script to do so.
Got it. So how does this janitor thing that you're talking about, or how does the checking out of the account work, checking out of the project?
Yeah, the tool that implements it is called BOSKOS, BOSKOS, and that's in test infra. And it has a very simple REST interface, and it's a fairly simple service in that it like basically keeps the state of those 10 projects and whether they are leased to a test or not, and like will eventually like time out your lease and reclaim it and do that sort of stuff. But you basically make a REST request and you get back I think you get the credentials to use actually, and you then can use that. And I'm just gonna, sorry for the loud type, or what I'm sure is loud typing. I'm just gonna create just going to paste in the, let's see, I'm going to find the one how Cluster API Provider AWS used it. There we are. It's a script called hack checkout account, and I'm going to paste it in our minutes, I guess.
And so where does BOSCOS run in our setup?
BOSCOS runs in Prow. It's one of the Prow services. So if you, this assumes, I think it assumes, this assumes that you're running your E2E tests under Prow, which you probably are.
Yeah, we would be. And so I'm just to make sure that the like us sharing it with Cluster API would go through the same BOSCOS and play nicely.
Yes, so as I was going to have a look at this. I don't know whether, I didn't see a way to say like, I want this set of accounts versus this other set of accounts. Like in other words, isolation. I don't know whether we need that, need. The one thing we do probably want is, like if you're going to start touching a new resource, which we're not cleaning up, we probably should make sure that the janitor is the recycling thing. The janitor correctly like recycles that new resource. I can't imagine there's any new ones, but yeah, exactly. But if there was, then we should just make sure that it's getting cleaned or recycled correctly.
Right, okay. Cool.
Given that a test only runs in a specific region, and I know that we have jobs that choose a random region to run their tests in, do you need to check out an entire account, or could you check out a region of an account?
Yeah, we could check out a region of account, but the way it's built, the way the BOSCOS AWS account pool works, you check out a whole account. I think COPS doesn't even use the BOSCOS pool. I think it actually just has a single shared account, and so that's why we randomize our regions and things like that. And so we could try to look at using BOSCOS if we wanted to in COPS. But it used to be harder to create sub accounts. I'm not even sure they existed when we first started, or I don't remember. But so that's why we ran in regions, and we ran sometimes in the same region. It's now relatively easy to create sub accounts. Apparently, there's a limit, but I haven't hit it yet. I don't know if anyone can tell me the limit, but anyway, well, I'm sure we'll find it eventually. So we can certainly do that, and then we don't even need to worry about randomizing regions. It might be nice to randomize, or to like check in a combination of accounts and regions, though that would be less isolated for things like IAM and DNS and probably some other ones which are cross-region.
Cool. Well, that sounds reasonable.
Yeah, so next steps, I guess, are, I don't even know if we need permission. We should just check with, we should have a look at that script and see if it's possible to have a separate pool. And assuming it's not possible to have a separate pool, we should just like check with Kappa if they mind you sharing the same pool, which they shouldn't do.
Okay, that sounds good to me.
And then I can't even imagine, I don't even think we'd probably need permission to share the same pool from like CNCF type thing. It might be nice to give them a heads up, but other than that.
Right. Yep. Yeah. Sounds good.
It'd be nice if project maintainers had like read access to the AWS accounts. I know I've had to troubleshoot some of we had when I was setting up the VPC CNI provider end-to-end tests, there were lingering resources that were preventing the next test from starting up correctly. I was having a very hard time tracking that down, making changes to the AWS janitor. If we had read access to the management console, that could have helped a lot. I don't know if that would be something that we could do.
it's the sub accounts are very disposable, as it were. Like it doesn't really matter too much about what happens in them. So I think we certainly could give read access to those sub accounts. I think in the main account, we'd have to look a little bit more closely at what's going on in there. But we could do that. I think that's a good suggestion. I'll write it down to see if we can create a.
Should somebody write a short proposal, not like a extensive one, but just something about how we want to manage the accounts, like something of a, like, you know, you're doing everything right now. I don't know how the governance is supposed to work of this, but
I am going to send a PR to the working group Kate's info, which will include the scripts I've been using to create those accounts. And I think the intent is that that group will essentially like take on questions of governance and management and that sort of thing. I don't know if you have any particular concerns that you want to pre-address, but I mean, there's two things, right? There's the mechanics of like, how do we actually create these accounts? And then there's like, who should be allowed to ask for a new account and that sort of stuff. And I think the sort of like rules is probably like working group Kate's infra feels like the forum for that. And I think the scripts I have some crappy scripts and we can put them upload them and you can rip them apart.
Yeah, I'm less worried about how the accounts are created. I'm sure your scripts are great.
Wait and see.
And more like, for example, I believe, so one of my coworkers was troubleshooting some issues a while back, and so we figured out that we have credentials to the CNCF account, and so we stored that in secrets manager just so that we, you know, have that access. But like, you know, how do we, if for example we were to, you know, every once in a while we'd give someone access and, you know, forget about it, like, do we want some kind of a process to audit the access that people have and stuff like that?
Yes, and so this is exactly what Working Group Kate's infra is doing on the GCP side. So there has been a similar lack of process around the Kubernetes resources that are used, or the GCP resources that are used for like Kubernetes testing, but also like things like Kates.io and the DNS and like all this random stuff that, like, you know, was done as a one-off here and a one-off there, and no one's quite sure like which project is it in and who actually has access and all this. So there's actually some great stuff going on in that repo. So far only for GCP, but there are like, I think they're starting to use more Terraform. There are scripts to dump like a list of all the people that have permissions on GCP into a YAML file so that it can be audited. And the intent being that essentially it's taking a GitOps type approach where everything is in Git, and any deviation from Git is a red flag. And we could certainly, I think it'd be great to like get some AWS experts to help us figure out the best practice on the AWS side there. Like, you know, we have some GCP people that are helping like figure out the stuff there, but we don't have the depth on the AWS side. And
yeah, let me add an action item. Yeah.
But yeah, I think it would be great to have like the sub accounts listed, a list of people who had read-only access to them. And then I don't know if we would ever want to break glass. Yeah, I guess occasionally we'd want to break glass. So I guess we'd need some set of people that that can break glass and do stuff. So it'd be great to get the CNC. In general, that CNCF test account, it would be great to get that under management in the Kates.io repo.
Got it. Yeah.
Because it's not. It could be one way to put it.
Yeah.
I think that's good. Yeah, I think we're way forward there. Does that make sense?
I think so. Yeah. So I should basically reach out to, you said it's Kate's infra.
I think the first thing to do would be to just, let's see if we can just share the Kappa pool, I think.
Okay.
If you want to just get unblocked on running tests.
Yeah,
then,
that's definitely top priority.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. And then in theory, you can just like send figure out with like how to run figure out the prow job that does this. And Peter has a lot of experience here, and I think Kappa has experience as well. So like how to do a prow job that uses these credentials and, you know, recycle some of the scripts from Kappa and some of the prow jobs. And use it.
But in terms of like processes around this, do we want to reach out to them, or
to Kappa or to working group Kate's infra?
Working group Kate's infra.
And so yeah, so then I think the path there is like, first step is I should get the 10 accounts that were these 10 Kappa accounts at least mentioned in their repo, and then we can like start to go from there and sort of try to get more and more under management, I think.
Got it.
I think that'd be a good thing. I think it'd be a great topic to bring up in their bi-weekly meeting. They just met on Wednesday, so it's the next meeting will be in 12 days. It's Wednesday at pretty early, like 8:30 Pacific, I think.
Great.
Yeah, exactly. I tend to go, but yes, it's usually a little later in the day for me.
All right, cool.
All right, and then you have the second and currently final item on our agenda as well, Nick, around annotations.
Let me just put the other action item for talking to Kappa if you want to give anyone else a chance to talk while I'm doing that.
Are there any other items that people would like to discuss? Okay. But yeah, it would be great to get more of the infrastructure under working group Kate's infra management. We don't currently, as far as I know, have anything other than test infrastructure in AWS, so it might even be an easier scope than GCP.
Okay, so for the next item, I'm trying to just do like 1 or 2 pull request reviews for Cloud Provider every week or so. The one that I was looking at recently is I think I mentioned it to you a while back, but I hadn't actually reviewed it at that time, so I just reviewed it this past week. And it's adding. So when load balancers are created, we create a health check for them. And the old behavior was to basically pick a health check port at random. And the idea is that there might be cases where you want to kind of intelligently pick the port that probably is SSL for an SSL health check. So I'll paste the pull request in the group chat.
Do we actually do random, by the way? Or
Well,
is it just
no,
the first?
Random. It's just the first one in the list.
Okay, good. Because random would be like really bad. Yeah. Like it should be at least predictable, even if it's not good. A good choice. Just predictable is the first step.
It's just the first one. So anyway, what this got me thinking was we can derive for the most part, we can derive information about how we want to create this health check based on, I think, the the PR currently says, okay, look at the front end, like go through the listeners, look at the front end protocol, and I think this is all assuming that you have the annotation backend protocol set to HTTPS or SSL. If that's the case, look at the front end protocol and use that to determine which one's the SSL port. And then sort of as a fallback, if we haven't set the backend protocol to a secure protocol, then just pick the first port. So it's a little bit confusing, but maybe that made some sense. I'm wondering if it wouldn't, instead of using this backend protocol annotation, which I believe has other side effects, I'm not sure exactly what they are. What if we just had two annotations, one for health check port and one for health check protocol? Is that?
That would seem like a good idea. I think we can certainly do that. I think I'm inclined to agree with you. We can certainly do that, and also have smarter logic if it isn't specified. I guess in particular we have to be careful about, like, it's a behavioral change, and it's okay to make a behavioral change if the previous behavior was completely broken, right? So as long as we're only changing the behavior for people that would have had non-working configurations before, then that seems fine. But yeah, when we're looking at, like, so I like your idea because it can't, if you're adding annotation, you can't break someone's, like, there's no way to, it can't break anyone.
Right.
Whereas we have to look very carefully at this PR to make sure that we aren't changing a working configuration or a potentially working configuration.
Right. And not, there is one, so like if we don't find, I'm wondering about this error, like if we don't find a HTTPS or SSL port, if we've chosen health check protocol, oh, that does actually make sense. I mean, oh, let me think. I guess there is a chance where the listener says TCP, but it's actually HTTPS or SSL, right?
Yeah, and we actually do that for example, API server, typically 401s, returns a 401, and an HTTP request, and uses a self-signed cert. And so both of those things would cause, respectively, a naive HTTP health check and SSL health check to fail, if I recall correctly. Like, I don't think with my AWS ELBs you can say, like, accept a 401 as being healthy.
I don't know, maybe.
Okay. So, but anyway, I certainly, like, it is. I think the default configuration, for example, for COPS and forever on, like, QBAP was use TCP health checks against the ELB that fronts the Kubernetes API servers, precisely because of this problem.
Right.
So that is an important one.
So yeah, I have to dig into this a little bit more, but right now it's if this annotation is HTTPS or SSL, which the annotation doesn't refer to health checks at all. So I'm not sure if everyone who uses that annotation is expecting that to force an SSL health check. But if that states HTTPS or SSL, then we basically error out if we can't look at the listeners and determine, right? We don't fall back to TCP health check, we actually error out. So that could be a breaking change.
Yeah. I like your suggestion of just making it explicit. It feels like it's never going to surprise anyone.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. I will comment that on the PR, maybe if you want to take a look as well.
Yeah, I'll look at these, like the weird like edge cases of TCP plus SSL and all this stuff.
Yeah.
The one we want to be, yeah, sorry.
I was just gonna say, and this also made me realize that our load balancing code in general is pretty, I'll just say, difficult to grok at times.
There are a lot of paths, and there are a lot of annotations at play. Like there's a lot of functionality in there.
Cool. All right. Well, that's it.
All right. I don't know if there's anything else anyone would like to bring up, either on for the agenda or otherwise.
If nobody else has anything, just as a side thing, for KubeCon EU, I think you did say you were going.
Yes.
We should do some sort of an informal meetup.
Yeah, that would be great. I think that worked really well. Informal one worked really well at the last KubeCon in San Diego, in my opinion. And so I think we didn't do one for sig-aws, we did one for a different subproject, but I think it was great. And I think, yeah, we should try to arrange that. I guess probably during the main week would be better than during the first day. Everyone might be doing different things. Like I know people have their contributor events and their other events, or sort of the pre-day, I should say, day zero.
Yeah, agreed. Like basically Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday.
Yes, and probably lunch or breakfast or high tea.
Sounds good. Yeah. Well, let's say a lunch. That's easy.
Lunch is good. Yes.
All right. Shall we pick a day now, or should we do some kind of a scheduling?
Why don't we have a look at the calendar and see if it clashes with anything, and then like pick a day and discuss it in Slack?
Sure. We can. Slack has surveys, doesn't it?
It has. I think it does. It also has like informal surveys where you like use an emoji for each of the different days or different options. So
that's very good. Cool.
All right. I don't know if there's anything else anyone would like to bring up. All right. Well, in that case, I wish everyone a very happy 2 weeks and see you in 2 weeks.